Today's class is being conducted on behalf of Civils 360 IAS Academy. Um, as you know, this year's prelims results have come, and as in previous years, we have had an exceptional result. And so many have been calling us to know regarding the details of prelims and the strategy to approach prelims. And that's the reason why we have uh, scheduled this class. So in this class, usually people find it very difficult to study for prelims. Like there are a lot of things to study. There are numerous textbooks, and the syllabus is small, but the things to study is very vast. So that we don't usually get the time to even revise before the prelims. In our opinion, prelims is the most easiest part in civil service exam if you keep it simple. Because when we analyze the previous year's question, we can see that there is a definite trend in the type of questions being asked. So if you understand the exam, the way prelims is being conducted, the way questions are put, the nature of the questions and the type of questions, weightage for each sessions, it will be really easy to crack prelims. So that's the reason why many of our first timers crack prelims, because the process we teach them is simple. So I want to share with you the easiest way of approaching prelims, how to get prelims, how to get through prelims with minimum effort. Actually, maximum like 1 or 2 months. If you put effort for one or 2 months, it's easy to crack prelims. So today I'll be discussing the way to do that. See, one of the most important things while starting for preparation is, see, keep your strategy simple. Fix your textbooks. Fix the things that you are going to study beforehand. Because for each subject, there will be a humongous lot of subject books that are available. So that's not possible. It's not possible and it's not necessary to study the whole textbooks. So the main thing, the most important thing I want to say is keep your preparation simple, fix the textbooks beforehand, so that you can read it again and again, and prevent reading things at the last moment, trying to mug up current affairs and such things in the last moment. Keep the book list short and revise it again and again, and finish it 2 or 3 weeks well in advance of prelims, so that you get the confidence to write the exam. So I will elaborately tell you the way to do it. So when we look at the previous year exams in the new syllabus from 2012 to 20, now 8 exams been conducted in the new syllabus. So in all these 8 exams, we can see a different pattern the way questions are being picked by UPSC. Actually, the whole questions, it can be categorized into 3 parts. Where the basic concepts are checked, here you have to study the standard textbooks. Questions from standard textbooks are being asked. There will be some 20-30 questions from this part. Then the general awareness part. Here, see, the general awareness part, I mean the current affairs questions that are asked for prelims. By general awareness question, I mean the current affairs questions that are being asked for prelims. I think many of you might have already given prelims. And one thing you might have noticed is that no matter how much current affairs things we study, normally the things they ask for the exam, we don't find many from the things we have studied. Because by current affairs, we always focus on the issue, the important happenings. But UPSC, what they do is they actually check the general awareness. They need not have they don't usually focus on an important issue, but rather they focus on the important things that are repeatedly in the public domain. For example, important terms, important concepts that we often hear. Because while writing prelims, we know that most of the things they ask, we are aware of it, but we don't have the knowledge to answer the question. For example, MPLAD. We often hear what MPLAD is. But we don't know in detail whether the fund is lapsable or the limit of fund, the nature of fund, we are not aware of. Because often for current affairs, what we do is we study the printouts of institutes and we study on internet sources rather than relying on the newspaper. What UPSC do is they actually pick the terms that are often coming in the newspaper and they ask question. And around 20-25 questions come from this part also, the general awareness current affairs part. So total basic concepts and general awareness, they constitute around 50 questions. And the rest of the question is actually a mix of basic concept, general awareness, and ample amount of common sense. See, when you look at the marks people get after their serious 1 year or 2 year preparation, we see that even after studying, often people fail, and actually they don't fail at a very high margin. You yourself might have gone through it. Even if you study hard for 1-2 years, you will be losing for 1-2 marks from the cutoff. See, you lose that way because you might be good with the concepts and you might be good with the current happenings, but you are not putting enough effort on applying this basic concepts and general awareness into application questions. You are not putting right practice in the right direction. That is the reason why serious candidates fail with marginal marks. So we will see in detail the 3 kinds of questions that UPSC asked: basic concepts, general awareness, common sense. See, for basic concept, just stick to these 8 textbooks: Lakshmikant, Nitin Singhania, Culture, Tamil Nadu SCRT, Macroeconomics, Indian Geography, Physical Geography, Environment, Modern India, Spectrum. These 8 textbooks are enough to cover the static topics that are asked for prelims. For mains, you should read furthermore for the analytical part and all. But for prelims, just stick to these 8 textbooks. See, for polity question, in these 8 years, they haven't asked a question outside Lakshmikant. In culture, 90% of the questions they ask is from these 2 textbooks, Nitin Singhania and Tamil Nadu SCRT textbook. And economics, most of the static topics, the basic concept they often ask from macroeconomic textbooks. You don't have to study economics guides that like there are, which has hundreds of pages. Just focus on the macroeconomics textbooks and build on the current affairs. This will do. Then for geography topics, Indian geography, physical geography. 99% of the questions asked over these 8 years are from these 2 textbooks, Indian geography and physical geography. And environment, any good textbooks will do. Shangar's environment textbook or PFDF. There are some online coaching institute that provide environment textbooks. Any good environment textbook will do. Well, what I recommend is a Shangar's environment textbook. Actually, it covers in every basic. So that will do. And for modern India, they haven't actually asked a question out of the spectrum. The questions might find difficult. The question might you might feel like you haven't seen the things you haven't seen the question, the terms they ask. But if you have a thorough understanding of modern India, applying it, you could get an answer every time. So the first thing you have to do for clearing prelims is to thorough these 8 textbooks: Lakshmikant, Nitin Singhania, Tamil Nadu SCRT, Macroeconomics, Indian Geography, Physical Geography, Environment, Modern India. You have to thoroughly study it. These 8 textbooks. Every static topics you can get from these 8 textbooks. And then I'll show you the basic question that they ask. So this is the kind of question they ask from the basic portion. Indigo cultivation. Well, this question you can get from Spectrum. Because it's unprofitable in the world market because of the new inventions. This thing they have given in the Spectrum textbook as such. So if you have a thorough understanding of the textbook, you can directly write this answer. These general awareness part and basic textbook part, actually, if you have a thorough knowledge, you can write them. There is no confusion. Wyatt Wellesley established the Fort William College at Calcutta. So this is also a very direct question. We can get the answer from Spectrum textbook. And again, this question, with reference to the scholars, literatures in ancient India, consider the following statement. Panini, Amarsimha, Kalidasa. Actually, if you have written that SCRT textbook, this is a direct question from SCRT textbook, Tamil Nadu SCRT. Actually, for every prelims exam, they take questions from that textbook. Many questions. Last year also, there were many questions that we could have answered from studying this Tamil Nadu SCRT textbook. NCRT is fine, but it covers a lot of political history. It covers a lot of political history, so that we wouldn't concentrate. We wouldn't.
Notifications you high kar rahe ho?
So there are NCRT since it cover a lot of political things. 1 second, someone hasn't muted the mic.
Unmute karo.
Okay. And this year also there were many questions that they have asked from the SCRT textbook. So it's good if you concentrate on the Tamil Nadu SCRT textbooks, because we will get many questions from that. It's a very refined textbook. There are not much political history, but they have rather concentrated on the cultural aspect. So it's good rather than reading the NCRT textbook, if you concentrate on the SCRT textbook. Again, the system of parliamentary system of government. Such question, you can directly get it from Lakshmikant. With reference to the period of Gupta dynasty in India, the towns Gandhagashala, Kadura, Lanchal were well known as. Actually, after the exam, many people were saying that they were hearing this for the first time. Actually, this question also they had taken from the Tamil Nadu SCRT textbooks. In the first few chapters itself, they have given about this Gandhagashala, Kadura port. So, read the basic textbook. And the next thing is the current affairs part. See, what happens is that UPSC, they always ask question on the basis of its relative importance. What they focus is the relative importance of the topic or the term. See, there was a question on what is Brent crude oil. Actually, there wasn't any particular incident so that we could have studied that Brent crude oil, but they asked that question because it is often seen in the newspaper. And many terms like CRR, CAR, and other general terms we see with environment or terms like social capital, such things actually they take from the their relative importance in the public domain. So if you read if you read the newspaper, you have to write down the terms that you are not aware of, and you should just look up the meaning. But what students do is that they often rely on current affairs materials, and they end up studying a lot of things, so that you wouldn't know the relative importance of the topics or the terms that you are studying. So for that, in order to understand the relative importance of the terms and issues, you have to read the Hindu. See, in the last few years, last 5-6 years, often the science and technology questions, almost every science and technology question that UPSC takes is from the Hindu science and technology page. Actually, they only ask those questions that are relatively very important. And only by reading newspaper, we will understand what topics are important because they will repeat again and again. Last year, from Science and Technology, question Denisovan. What is Denisovan? It's actually a human ancestor. What Denisovan mean? Actually, Hindu had given a holistic coverage on finding some skeletons of Denisovan people. So focus on the Hindu. Actually, it will make your preparation very lighter and you could manage with studying very less. Because the current affairs material, they try to bring in any important news, everything and anything that have happened in the last 1 year. Actually, we don't have to do that. We don't have to study that much to get the questions that UPSC ask. Because if we have read the Hindu, the questions that are important for science and technology or in the environment sphere that we come across will be very few. And actually only those questions need to be studied. See, while studying the current affairs material, actually we cover some 500, 600 important topics for science and technology alone. And all these 600 topics for us will have the equal importance. So we don't focus on individual topics. But while reading the Hindu, you will know the importance of the topic by the frequency with which it appears. If black matter or the CERN experiment, so it had appeared in the Hindu many number of times. So it was really impossible to ignore it. So UPSC only picks such questions that are that often comes in the newspaper. So read Hindu. You don't have to read current affair material. Just focus on Hindu and prepare notes on your own. You might have to spend around 1 hour daily, but it will keep your preparation simple. So focus on the Hindu. So this year also, often the question they asked was the terms that often repeat in the newspaper and the incidents that was frequenting in the newspapers, like gold tranche. When you read the newspaper, you come across the term gold tranche. Just write it down and understand what it is. That will do. You don't need to have to go into the details or study in depth, but just understand the terms and terminologies that comes in the paper. The experiment will employ a trio regarding Evolve LISA program. So this question also, it was actually, there was a brief news article in the Hindu that frequented 2 or 3 times in the last 6 months, in the last 6-7 months. So UPSC had picked that question from its relative importance. The term public key infrastructure is used in the context of, studying current affairs material, you wouldn't see something like this because there wasn't any specific event that would connect the public key infrastructure to any particular issue. But UPSC asked this question because this terminology was important in the public domain. We would see it in many news articles, we would see it in the government documents, but there wasn't any particular issue, a particular important event that connects the term to that issue. So UPSC, what they do is they often pick things that we often see in the public domain. So that's how these questions have been asked. There are no specific issues, but rather the relative importance of the terms and terminologies. That's how they choose the questions. And again, as I said, if you study the basic textbooks and the current affairs, you will get around 50 marks. You will get around nearly 50 questions, and that also you won't be able to do with 100% precision because there would be things that we don't know, and it's human to make errors. So the most important thing, if you ask me, the most important thing that helps our students to clear exam is the practice they gave in. See, because the other 50 questions are actually based on application. Again, there are some certain trends that we can see in this second half of the questions. Most of the questions we would have heard of the terms, but there would be details that we are not sure of, and also there would be questions that we haven't heard at all. It's a mix of such questions. So if we look through those questions, what we can see is that, see, it's nearly impossible to know the answers of questions. But rather, what we have to do is we have to apply the basic things and the current affair knowledge that we have studied and try to find the wrong options. See, it's impossible to recollect or recognize the right answer, but using this basic knowledge and the current related things, we can easily identify the wrong options that doesn't make sense to the question that are asked. If you look through the question, we can see that even the options 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3, 2 only, 3 only, even those options that UPSC put them very meticulously. Even by understanding a single wrong option, single wrong statement, you would be able to eliminate 3 out of 4 options and get right to the answer. So the most important thing while practicing papers is that while taking mock test is that, see, you don't have to find the right answer, but always focus on identifying the wrong options. That's the key to clearing prelims. See, if a question comes that we are not aware of, the things we haven't heard of, then you should go with common sense. If a statement doesn't make sense, you have to eliminate it. If a statement doesn't make sense, you have to eliminate it. If a statement makes sense, with the things you have studied, with the basic things you have studied, the current affairs you have studied, if you feel like a statement, if it makes sense, that is, we don't know for a fact that it's wrong, with our commonsensical knowledge and the things we have studied, it appears to be right. So such things you have to take as right option. So you have to take that risk. And by practicing the questions that feel like UPSC questions, we can increase the strike rate. We can increase the number of questions that we can get right through in the real exam. So practice matters, because only through practice we will be able to identify the questions, identify the statements that have a good chance of being wrong, and zero into the correct option. And also, there are certain pointers that often UPSC put in their questions, pointers, like all the, every scenario, specifically. So there are a number of pointers that UPSC, they deliberately push into their statements. Actually, they do it to make us think. So there are some certain words. If you see in the question, you have to think about it again and again. I'm not saying is that every statement is like all statements that have words like every, all, specifically is right or wrong. What I'm saying is that actually UPSC put those words, put those terms in the questions for a purpose, to make us think again and again regarding the statement asked. So they are flags, they are pointers that ask us to think about the statement again and again. So by practicing questions, you will have to develop that skill to find the statement that have a high chance of going wrong and zeroing into the right answer. Even if you attempt 4 questions and 3 questions go wrong, just 1 is right, actually you are not losing anything. If you are attempting 10 questions and you get 3 of the questions correct and your 7 goes wrong, you are getting net marks. So you have to take risk, and you have to take risk in the right way. So guessing is not about going by your intuition, but rather it's about making educated eliminations with common sense and the things you have studied. So what gets you through the problems is developing that skill, the skill to make educated guesses and to apply the knowledge that you have. So I will show some of the questions that they asked. Consider the following activities: spraying pesticides on crop field, inspecting craters of active volcanoes, collecting breath samples from spouting wheels for DNA analysis. So what they have asked is, in the present level of technology, which about the activities can be successfully carried using drones? As I said, if it makes sense, it's right. And rather than that, the technology, see, its options are always limitless. The technology, using a technology, a particular thing couldn't be done today, but we might be able to do it tomorrow. So UPSC doesn't, they actually doesn't put such like wavering questions. The questions was answer can be changed in a matter of time. If they ask something like that, it's because it already exists. So such ambiguities, UPSC never ask in the questions. So if you take the last 8 years exam, in 90% of the cases, science and technology, it's all the above is the answer. Only very few exceptions are there. They are not doing it like deliberately, but it's the nature of the science and technology question and the UPSC's nature to avoid ambiguities. That's why it always appears to be the all the above. So another question: if you withdraw 1 lakh in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy will be, actually those with the basics know that the aggregate money actually increases after we make withdrawal and spend. But the question here asking is, what is the immediate effect? Soon after, the moment, just after we have withdrawn, what's the effect on aggregate money supply? Actually, only after we start spending it, the aggregate money supply in the economy will change. That's why they have put in the term immediate effect. So they put it on a purpose. While reading the prelims question, actually underline such markers in the question because they will help you to get into the final answer. UPSC never put frame a question for the sake of framing. They actually mean something while when you see something that actually doesn't fit, or the words that we feel like it's an extra addition to the question, actually it changes the nature of the question. You can see many questions, some 20-30 questions, you will find it the same way. They add terms like specific, many, immediate, never. So such terms are actually to ensure that there is an unambiguous answer to that question. They put it deliberately. So if the immediate effect will be always that it will be unchanged. Another question: which of the following are the reasons, factors for exposure to benzene pollution? So what they are asking is, which of the following things can emit benzene? Actually, you don't have to know about the nature of benzene or the way it's produced. Actually, when something is combusted, when something is burning, there could be 100 types of gases, 100 types of chemicals that emanate from the burning compound. So we can never rule out the absence of any inorganic chemicals while some inorganic gases while something is being burned. So as I said, in UPSC, there are never any ambiguities. If there is even the slightest chance of it, the slightest possibility of something being right, it will be right in the exam. Actually, after the session, you can go and you can check through the other questions as well for the 2020 or 2019 or any question papers from 2013 to 20. Actually, it's the same way they put the question over and over every year. So here also the question is the answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Benzene pollution, we are not sure of the things that are emitted from the automobile exhaust, from the things that are emitted from the tobacco smoke or from the wood burning or the used to varnish, but actually they don't expect us to study each and everything. But what they expect is to apply our common sense. There could be n number of gases that emit from a combustion, and actually it's not possible to rule out something. So the answer would be obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence can effectively do which of the following? Again, going by the same common sense. One thing that we might find it strange is the second option, create meaningful short stories and songs. So many would have eliminated the option 2 and written 1, 3, and 4 only. But again, as I said, see, we have to go for the wrong option rather than finding the right ones. Okay, you have eliminated the second option, but you have to eliminate the other options as well to reach the answers. You have to check the veracity of every statements given here, whether there is a chance of it being wrong or whether there is a chance of it being right. You have to go through every statement. You shouldn't just zero in on the answer by viewing one statement alone, like creating meaningful short stories. So if you eliminate this second option, the answer you will get to is 1, 3, 4. But you will be automatically eliminating 5 also. Wireless transmission of electrical energy. Actually, this is something that we often see. Through conduction, it's quite normal to transfer electrical energy. And also, as I said, see, if you develop the practice of reading newspapers daily, actually in Hindu, there were reports of New York Times publishing editorial pages that were written by artificial intelligence. And also in Hindu's S&T pages, there were a article about music being composed by artificial intelligence softwares. So, which means that you could have easily gotten the answer D, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All the above is the option. Again, Deshar Kada. See, such questions we will be seeing it for the first time in the exam. There will be a lot of questions that we would be seeing for the first time in the exam. Actually, we are not supposed to learn it because it's not possible to learn it. But rather what you have to do is you have to read it again and again. As I said, you should apply the basic knowledge that you have acquired from the basic books and common sense into that question. See, while reading through this question, we see that Deshar Kada by Sakharam. We might be hearing it for the first time. Read it again and again. Ganesh Duskar during struggle, consider the following statement. It warned against colonial state hypnotic conquest of the mind. It inspired the performance of Swadeshi street plays and folk songs. 3. The use of Desh by Duskar was in the specific context of region of Bengal. See, as I said, there are certain keywords that calls our attention like this. The use of Desh by Duskar was in the specific context of the region of Bengal. See, if you read the other statements, like as I said, there can be a chance of it being right. There's a high probability that it will be right. But you have to look for the pointers. It's national freedom struggle. There was a nationalist sentiment. And unless there is a pan-India sense in that book, actually UPSC wouldn't ask it. So you have to take that risk. And you should eliminate. You have to think of the chances that that statement could be wrong. Like why I should include the statement, why I should exclude the statement, why I should include. Because See, there are chances that regional literature works were quite popular during this time, and there were literature works on like Neil Darpan on indigo planters. Actually, there was of a regional issue, so there were books that were of regional nature, but it was during the national freedom struggle, and also there was a pan-India sense that was being built up, and also for the UPSC to ask this question, there should be some speciality to it. So you have to weigh in the options and you have to take a chance. See, it might go wrong at times, but what I'm saying is that whether you get this particular question right or wrong, but this is the way you have to approach the question. See, if you approach this way for every question, as I said, see, for 10 questions, you might get 4 or 5 correct, and you might get 5 wrong. But ultimately, this is the strategy that will help you to clear prelims. So here the answer is 1 and 2 only. Many might have answered 1 and 2, and many might have answered 1, 2, and 3, because as I said, there were presidents like Neil Darpan and all that were focusing on regional issue. But that doesn't matter. What matters is being able to apply this strategy to every question. And one more thing is that only after practicing questions like this, only after practicing many questions like it, you will develop a skill to eliminate the non-probable and to bring in the probable statements. So this is to develop by practice. And again, India's national policy on biofuels. See, national policy on biofuels, it often appeared in the newspaper, but again, it isn't possible to study anything and everything, every raw materials that are allowed under the biofuel. But what's important was that it was appeared in the newspaper that actually it inculcates the policy to ensure food security, to prevent edible items from being turned to biofuels, because that will increase the pressure on land and it will affect the food security. So the national policy in a broader framework, it had elements of avoiding pressure on edible, those grains consumed by humans. So that thing you will get from the Hindu paper. And when you apply that, you will get the answer. Go through it again and again. Damaged wheat grains. Surely it will be there. Groundnuts, we know. Horse gram, we don't know. Rotten potatoes. Rotten potatoes. So actually, they have few of the names that are given here actually is in sync with the broader framework of avoiding pressure on food crops. So when we go through again and again, we see that actually there are things that are not considered edible that being used for biofuels, and also there are edible things. So there is a high probability that what UPSC looking is whether we know the broad policy, the broad contours of the national policy on biofuels. Actually, for most questions, what they look is that whether we know the basics of that thing. So if we apply it and remove the edible things, actually we can directly get to the answer. Groundnut won't be used because it's edible. So eliminating that, D, C, B, 3. So eliminating that itself, you will get the answer. So that's the way they have put the options even. There is only one statement that doesn't have 3, because you should be able to eliminate the edible item. Again, another question. With reference to solar water pumps, consider the following statement. Solar power can be used for running surface pumps and not for submersible pump. Solar power can be used for running centrifugal pump and not the ones with piston. See, here you don't have to know about the technologies behind the submersible pump or the piston pump. It's a technology question. And actually solar power, like it has many forms that it can be stored in batteries. there are many storage options and n number of ways the solar power can be used. So no one can say that it cannot be used for a particular thing. So obviously this question, both of the statements are wrong because actually they are putting a limit on the way solar power can be used. It's like saying that batteries, it cannot be used for torches, it cannot be used for clocks, it can only be used for toys. So this too, like that, is a very absurd question. Actually, what they are looking is they are seeing whether you can apply common sense in that pressure situation. So the answer is obviously B. Again, see, this year there were many analyses that point out that the agricultural questions are quite a lot, and you have to focus on areas, farming and agriculture, when you are preparing for prelims. Actually, it's a wrongful way of looking at the exam. As I said, over these years, they haven't changed the nature of questions that are asked. What they do is they change the topics they emphasize, they change the subject they emphasize, but the bottom line, the way we have to approach the questions are all the same. Even these questions, actually, every bearing one or two questions, every other agriculture related questions could have been answered with static knowledge and common sense. What is meant by a public investment? What is an investment? Do we consider eating biryani as investment? No. Investment is always about, as I said, if you have the habit of reading through newspaper, public investment is something that we always see in the paper. And public investment is about creating infrastructure. Public investment is about creating infrastructure. And which of the below options does the function of creating infrastructure? Does giving MSP has a direct bearing of providing infrastructure? No. Actually, that alone will give you the answer. Again, free electricity. Does it provide infrastructure facility? No. Again, you can eliminate B and D. Actually, eliminating this alone would have led you to the answer C. Again, because the following factors policy were affecting the price of rice in India in the recent past. Again, you don't have to know about the minimum, what is minimum support price or stockpiling or what all things the consumer subsidies amount to. But as I said, see, if it makes sense, it will be right. Even if there is a remote chance of something being right, UPSC wouldn't put that ambiguity in their statement. They ask us because it's right. So going by that sense, we can never say that government stockpiling or the government trading or the consumer subsidies will never ever affect the price of rice. There is always a chance. There can be a number of ways that we can't even anticipate that will affect the price of rice in India. So the answer is D. See, as I said earlier, see, for some questions, going by bare common sense, going by bare logic, applying the knowledge that we have, you might go wrong. But studying the basic textbooks, reading newspaper, and practicing questions for applying this common knowledge to question will definitely give you 140 plus marks. As even this time, many of our first timers from our prelims cum mains batch have cleared civil service and forest service exam as well. That's because the difference is in our approach. It's not the number of questions that do, it's not the number of books you studied or the number of question papers you practice. It's actually doing the questions that matters, that helps you improve this skill of eliminating options and zeroing in on the most probable answers. That will definitely get 75-80 questions right for the exam. And again, this question, value of Indo-Australian trade has consistently increased in the last decade. Textile and textile articles constitute an important item of trade between India and Bangladesh. In the last 5 years, Nepal has been the largest trading partner of India in South. See, the second statement that you will get from the newspaper, because it was over and over again regarding India signing memorandum of understanding for textile related industries with Bangladesh and such newses were always in the paper. So second option that you will know for sure. So you can eliminate the C. And what matters is 1 and 3. As I said, the things, the adjectives in the statement, they actually point us towards the answer. Actually, UPSC put adjectives in the statement in order to remove ambiguities. See, because in the first question, you see, the value of Indo-Sri Lankan trade has increased in the last decade. If there was no consistently, see, we would have a confusion regarding the statement. It can be or cannot be right, but they have put the word consistently. Actually, words matters. What do you mean by consistently? What do you mean when you say there's a consistent increase in the trade? Consistent increase means the graph, the line will be of equal distance from X and Y. There will be consistent increase. First year 2, second year 4, third year 6, 8. There will be consistent increase. It's not enough to have an increase from 2010-2020 period, but taken each year, there should be a consistent increase from the subsequent year to the previous year. So that adjective UPSC have put is for the purpose of making that sentence wrong. So you have to understand that. While practicing previous year also, we can see that every time when an economic thing, they add consistence towards it, actually that statement will be right, will be wrong. India had a consistent increase in the GDP in the last 20 years. There was a consistent increase in the tax to GDP ratio. Consistency in economics is actually, it never exists, especially in a large economy like India. Because there can be fluctuations, there can be global slowdowns that will affect our growth also. And even in the value of international trade, see, there can be things that will temporarily affect. Even if there is some issues in the quarterly trade also, the consistency word wouldn't come there. So we can safely eliminate the first statement as well. So the remaining statement is B, 2 only. Again, under Kisan Credit Card Scheme, short-term credit support is given to farmers for which of the following purpose? So, while reading the question, you might be hearing for the first time Kisan Credit Card, or even if you know, you might not be the things that comes under the Kisan Credit Card. But still, as I said, apply your knowledge, use your common sense, read through the question again and again. You will get something to crack the exam, crack that statement. So here the highlight is Kisan. So here the highlight is Kisan Credit Card and short-term credit support. So obviously you won't be able to know which all things Kisan Credit Card give credit to. But see, there's a pointer, short-term credit. And look at the things, read through the statements again and again. See, is it possible to repay the debt to a family house in a short term? Actually, for flats and all, or for constructing home, the repayment period is 10-20 years. So what they are saying is that they are giving a short-term credit for the construction of house. Actually, it's not possible. Short-term credit is something like that we have to repay in a short period. So is it really possible to build a house with short-term credit support? Logically, it doesn't make sense. And if you look at the options, you can see that actually UPSC, what they want is to think that way. Because there is only one statement that doesn't have the option B in it. That alone will lead us to the answer. So this is the way you have to attend problems. And again, read that first statement. In the case of all cereals, pulses, and oilseeds, the procurement at minimum support price is unlimited in any state. all and unlimited. Actually, they have put in two things to make sure that statement is wrong, because we know the basics about MSP, and we know that it's not actually given for everything and anything that's produced. It's given for just 23 crops, and it's given that all cereals, pulses, oil seeds are given unlimited MSP support by state. So obviously that is wrong. And again, the second statement, it will never rise. It is fixed at a price so that the market price will never rise above it. So even that is a very exaggerated statement. As I said, if you know the basics of MSP, you can easily understand that both the statements are actually exaggerated statements, and the answer for sure is option B. So this is the way you have to approach problems. There is no point in studying in trying to study anything and everything. Keep the sources minimum. Zero in on the things that you must complete 1 or 2 weeks before the prelims exam. Revise them again and again and make thorough of them. And the most important part is to focus on practice. And actually, there is also something more I want to say. And Civils 360, actually, our test series, we do it in a way so that it helps you to gradually build your understanding of the subject and develop the skill needed for the prelims exam. So, be it any test, what you should focus is to not to study the things that they ask for the exam, but rather to cultivate a skill that helps you to eliminate the wrong options and get you to the right answer. So how we are doing is that first we will ensure that you have studied the basics. We put questions from the basic textbooks like Lakshmi, and as I have shown from the spectrum, from Indian geography, physical geography, and make sure that you are thorough with the basic textbooks. Because unless you are thorough with the basic textbooks, you cannot apply that knowledge, or you cannot get the minimum marks for the prelims. So the most important thing is covering the basics. That's the first step. So first what we do is we put the test to make you understand the level of thoroughness you have with the basic option. So you have to read them again and again, and you have to make sure you are thorough with the basics. Actually, that part, it doesn't need any assistance from anyone. You can do it on yourself. We just provide you the paper so that you can assess yourself whether you have studied it well or not. After studying Lakshmina, taking the polity test, you must be able to score 100 plus if you are thorough with the concepts. So the first phase is actually anyone can do it, and doing any test series, you can actually test the level of your thoroughness with the basic topics. And the second part, it's the most important part here. Like if you're doing it on your own, after solving a question, you might think that you didn't get it right because you don't know you don't have the adequate knowledge to the answer. See, only when we show that actually it's not the knowledge, but it's the application that matters, you will recognize that that was the way to go for the question. Actually, second part, you need the support, and you need the consistent support and access to a qualified mentor to show where you lack, to help you how to think in questions, to help you solve the questions, with whom you can be in constant touch with. So second part is the part when you have to practice the application part. First part is thorough the knowledge. Second part, you have to solve the questions that UPSC usually asks, and you have to cultivate that skill of reducing the negatives and increasing the strike rate. And only after that, there is point in going for the full test valuations. Sitting for 2 hours and then writing UPSC similar the question paper similar to UPSC pattern, and making an assessment of our own. So you have to incrementally build the way you approach for prelims. You have to see it separately, gaining the knowledge, then honing the skill, and then practicing the full test valuation. So only by focusing it individually can you develop that aptitude required for clearing prelims. So this is the way how we do it here. And this video, it's also a promo video for the Prelimsure test series that we are conducting due on next week, this October 15, November 15, we are starting our Prelimsure test series. So if anyone is interested, you can WhatsApp me on my number given here. So is there any doubts? Do anyone have any doubts regarding the session so far? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Or we will wind up the session.
Sir, when we sir, when we learn that history textbook, is there a need to learn the themes NCERT? 3 themes.
Actually, themes NCERT, I think it's more important for the mains perspective. In prelims, you can manage with these textbooks alone. See, actually, there might be one or two questions that they might ask from the themes and other NCERT textbooks. But I am suggesting this 8 textbooks because that's the area where you get the worth. You get maximum output for your input.
Okay.
So that's what we do in our institute as well. For PCM students, actually, for prelims, we tell them to focus on these 8 textbooks.
Okay.
So is there any doubt? So if you have any doubts regarding prelims or regarding our test series, you just message me to this number, WhatsApp me on this number.